It always snows at Foxcroft. A Very Fatal Christmas by Celia Kay. Part 6. The Crimson Ribbon. Guy Elverton pulled the ribbon from Ambrose Gifford's hand. The breath froze in my lungs as the corpse pointed at me, the missing ribbon from my room, from my window, snagging on his finger, lifting it in a final ghastly salute. "J'accuse," it said. I, however, said nothing. I had had no guests in my room, so only Mrs. Brindle and Sims would know its connection to me. And where were they? Why had neither of the staff come to find the source of the crash? "To whom does it belong?" asked Vernier again. Guy glanced up at Vernier before looking at me. Perhaps he saw something in my face, for his eyes widened slightly before he turned away. "We'd best leave this for the police." He stood up and surveyed the room as I stood there, mute from the horror of it all. It was all so unexpected. "Come away, child." Lawton put his hand beneath my elbow and tried to lead me away. "No, thank you, I'd like a brandy and a cigarette first. Something to steady my nerves. I'll be quite safe with Mr. Elverton." Lawton raised his eyebrows, but said nothing as he returned to the hall with Monsieur Vernier. For the first time, I took in the surroundings. Ambrose Gifford lay beside the fallen tree, one foot still resting on the final step of the library ladder. A space had been cleared on the desk, but whatever he had been reading had been returned to the shelf. There were no empty spaces. I waited until I couldn't hear Lawton's footsteps on the gallery landing, and then closed the door. "Might I have a drink?" I asked, and crossed to the decanters without waiting for a reply. "I don't suppose we should light the fire, should we?" "No." Guy was watching me closely, and I was suddenly aware of how much I was shaking. "Here, let me." He took the decanter from my hand and poured me a stiff double before lighting us both a cigarette. "Thank you." I took a deep gulp of the brandy and coughed as it burnt the back of my throat. I have something to say." "I rather thought you had," he replied, and he crossed once more to the library steps. I took another swig of brandy and thought carefully. "It's my ribbon. Well, not mine, personally. I mean, it was from my room. It was used to keep the windows closed." "Go on." "It disappeared last night, or perhaps this morning. No, it had gone before we found Minerva. I remember now. I propped a book against the windows to keep them shut at first, but then I used one of my stockings. And that's something else. That's disappeared too." "And you didn't give the ribbon to Gifford?" He stepped over the body and placed his foot on the first rung, stepping up onto the ladder. His shoe was only inches from Gifford's. I didn't know how he could stand it, and I swallowed hard to stem the panic that was rising in me. "Give it to Ambrose? No, of course not. Why on earth should I?" I flicked the ash from my cigarette into the ashtray and knocked back the rest of my brandy. "What are you doing? Shouldn't you be preserving the scene of the crime, or whatever it is they say?" "Probably. But if we're going to be stuck here with a murderer for a few days, I'd like to know who it is, wouldn't you?" He climbed up to the top of the ladder and then came down slowly, one rung at a time, examining each shelf as he went. "Yes," he said, "I thought as much." And he took a large book from an upper shelf. "Gifford was looking at this. There's only one shelf where the dust has been disturbed, and this was not quite level with the others. Don't let Mrs. Brindle hear you disparage her dusting skills, I said. And where are Sims and Mrs. Brindle? Guy made the small leap across Ambrose's body. It was horrible how we were already becoming immune to the ghastliness of it. Poor man. Mrs. Brindle was out cold when I checked on her earlier. I can only assume someone drugged her Ovaltine. And Sims was locked in his room, from the outside. I unlocked the door, of course, but I had a hell of a job persuading him to play along. Play along with what? I had no idea what he was talking about, and the sudden hit of brandy certainly wasn't helping my intellect either. Never mind that now. Tell me what you make of this. He placed the book on the table and opened it up. It wasn't a book at all, but another photo album. Is this the same one that you saw earlier? The one where the photos have been removed? He asked. No, I don't believe so. I flicked through the first few pages. No, definitely not. That album was all winter. This one is summer, and there's only one photograph been removed by the looks of it. Guy nodded. Look closer. I switched on the desk lamp and angled the album into its beam. In the first few photographs, a group of 6 people sat on a lawn whilst others played croquet in the background. I flicked forward 6 pages until I found the blank space where a photograph had been removed. The black paper of the album had faded to a soft grey around the pictures, but the missing photo had left a dark, empty square. The photograph had only recently been removed. I bent down and took a closer look at the remaining snapshots. I looked up at Guy as the penny finally dropped. This is Foxcroft Hall during the war, I said. That's right. And not only that, the summer just before your aunt was arrested. He pointed to a date scribbled in pencil, its silver marks only legible when I tilted the paper. The faces suddenly swam into focus now I knew what I was looking at. Ambrose Gifford leaning against a wall, smoking a pipe. Sims fishing in the lake, unaware he was being photographed. Another shot of the lawn, with Mrs. Brindle in the background carrying a tea tray. Everyone was there. My throat tightened as I recognised my aunt. She was laughing with a man I didn't recognise as Beatrice gazed at Trevor. Well, she wouldn't have been Beatrice Lawton then, of course, as he looked at something off camera. Do you notice anything else about all these photographs? Guy stood next to me, leaning over the desk as we examined the album. No, I shook my head. Here, he pointed to a snap in the top row. And here again. Now tell me what you see. 2 men playing cards, Ambrose with a cocker spaniel. No, I don't see at all, I'm afraid. Oh, wait. Yes, I do see. There's always another person who isn't ever quite in the shot. It was a woman. In one picture, she was reading a newspaper high in front of her, the pages blurred, as if she had raised it in a hurry. In another, she had just got up from the table, and only the edge of her dress was visible. In a third, she held the dog so he obscured her face. My eye left the page for a moment, and I caught sight of Ambrose, the fairy lights still tightly wrapped about his throat. A violent shiver suddenly ran through me. Forgive me. Guy removed his jacket and draped it across my shoulders. Let's go to the drawing room and get a fire going. Bring the book. We closed the door on Ambrose, and Guy locked it, pocketing the key. Who do you think she is? I began as we crossed the great hall, but Guy pressed a finger to his lips. Only when we were in the drawing room, with the door shut, did he begin to speak. Who do I think she is? He repeated. I think she's the answer to all this. To Minerva Audley's murder, to Gifford's death. And I suspect she is also the reason your aunt was falsely accused. I'm sorry, I said, only half listening. Do you mind if we switch those fairy lights off? I slumped into the armchair by the fire. The logs were still faintly glowing, and in a minute, I assured myself, I would get up and use the bellows on them. But right at that moment, I was suddenly dog-tired. I believe I could have slept for a week, if only Minerva's crimson dress and Gifford's face, illuminated by those blue and green fairy lights, didn't appear before my eyes every time I closed them. Guy fetched me another drink, and I pulled a rug over my knees as he prodded the fire back to life. The scarlet and orange flames danced and sparkled on my crystal tumbler, and I was grateful to banish all thoughts of blue and green. But even if this mysterious woman is something to do with it, I said, why on earth would the ribbon from my window be in Gifford's hand? For the same reason, he replied, that another playing card was found in your room, and that your door was unlocked from the outside. I sat up straight. I'd forgotten about that. Why would anybody do that? So you would be the one to find Gifford first, no doubt standing over him as he gripped the ribbon. Did you say your stocking was missing too? I nodded. I imagine it will be found in Gifford's room, unless the murderer is keeping it for victim number 3. Oh, you can't mean that someone is trying to make it look like I'm the killer. That's ridiculous. Think about it for a moment. Which one of us has the best motive? You do. Revenge for an unrighted wrong against your aunt. But you can't think that. Surely. And why was another playing card found in your room? He carried on, dodging the question. If not to suggest Minerva Audley had met with you there. Someone has killed 2 people and wants to see you hang for it.